I'm going to go ahead and get started and start rolling the ball on things. So if you're joining this webinar, you are probably a client of ours at On Point Nutrition. This is Fall into Better Habits. I am Nicole. I will be doing this little educational webinar for everyone today. Just a little bit more about us. You probably know most of what we do. On Point Nutrition is an online nutrition counseling company. We work with a plethora of different clients with different goals and different things that they like to focus on, and different aspects that they like to work on in terms of health. So just a little bit about us and a little bit about me. I am a registered dietitian. I also have my master's in nutrition, specifically clinical nutrition, actually. I work with IBS clients. I work with clients who in terms of weight loss, I help them lose weight. I work with some PCOS clients. I work with food freedom. I work with a lot of different clients, but I like to talk a lot about planning, and I like to talk a lot about goals, and in terms of habits, a lot of ways to get us into a little bit more of that habit building skill. So that's why I'm doing this webinar today. So we're actually going to start off with talking about what constitutes a habit. So what constitutes a habit, and how long does it take to build a long-lasting one? So a habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is particularly hard to give up. So on average, it takes more than 2 months before a new habit becomes automatic. Actually 66 days to be exact. And that comes from a book that we usually recommend to our clients. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he goes into talking a little bit more about how to build a habit, and it's a basis of what we talk about a lot during our sessions. So how long it takes a new habit to form can vary widely depending on the behavior, the person, and the circumstances, of course. So some people will be able to pick up certain habits easily because of the new change in environment. For example, someone that starts a new job with maybe a later start time will be able to have more time for a gym session in the morning or preparing breakfast in the morning, versus an individual that started a new job and has an earlier start time that maybe needs to build a new habit from the night before of getting breakfast ready the night before. So again, varies widely depending on the person, depending on the behavior, the circumstances of everything. But on average, it takes about 2 months to really concretely build a new behavior and continue working with it. So something that we talk a lot at On Point about is those tiny changes make a big difference over time. So, example of how small changes can make a big difference when wanting to build a solid habit is meal planning 1 day a week. So setting yourself up for more success during the week by utilizing 1 day to plan a couple different things. Maybe it's just planning your breakfast. Maybe it's just cooking some chicken for lunches during the week, or separating some snacks into different categories in your fridge. Just doing 1 day of some type of planning is really going to set yourself up for success during the week. Implementing a solid exercise routine for a certain amount of days. So even just starting out walking and making that a habit 3 days a week builds up the habit of doing something at least. So over time, you may start to vary the exercise that you're doing and keeping up with those 3 days a week. It could go from doing walking 3 days a week for 30 minutes to maybe doing jogging, or doing some yoga, or doing a more intense bike workout. But starting with a solid plan and implementing a routine of doing something really helps with building that habit of doing it over time. And honestly, building it, the consistency is going to help long run. So it helps to go into the gym with a plan as well, and choose a type of exercise you actually enjoy doing. I always say the best type of exercise you can do is one that you can see yourself doing consistently, because choosing something that you have to force yourself to do that you're not really enjoying that much, it's not going to be sustainable. You're not going to be able to be consistent with it, and therefore it's going to fall off. Versus choosing something like starting off with walking or maybe jogging or doing some yoga, choosing something that you actually enjoy doing and you can see yourself doing on a consistent basis, you're going to have more success with that. And then another example is implementing breakfast every day. I missed the day part. But even if it's just something small, starting out like a piece of fruit and maybe some nut butter, or even a small granola bar, but building from there once it becomes a little bit more of an established practice. And that goes back into meal planning as well. Maybe prepping and planning your breakfast every day and just starting with that, it's going to make a big difference over time, especially when you make that into more of a habit that you're continuing with. Okay, so we're going to go over some tips and tricks on how to successfully build a habit. And that starts with setting a specific goal. Now, there's something that we often talk about during our sessions, and they're called SMART goals. So they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals. That is what SMART stands for. So you really want to pick a goal, but make sure it's categorized into that area of SMART. So specific, is my goal specific enough that I can easily attain it and I can measure it, right? So specific and measurable. Can I measure this goal? Attainable, is it actually attainable? Is it realistic for me to do? And then timely. Timely is that last aspect of it. So when creating a goal of I'm going to walk 3 days a week, instead of just leaving it at that, I'm going to walk 30 minutes, 3 days a week on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That is specific. It is measurable. It is timely, 30 minutes. Is it attainable and is it realistic to you? That's up to you to decide. But coming up with a SMART goal is the first step on how to actually establish a goal and then establish a specific habit. Social support is the next one. So having a solid team to support your back and encourage success. So a walk or a running buddy, a wife or husband that helps with meal prep, maybe a friend that comes over and you guys prep some energy bites for your kids for the week or for a snack for the week. But having a solid social support backing really, really helps with success and to build a solid habit too. The next one is one that I think some people have a hard time with being flexible. So not every day is going to go perfectly, but consistency is key over time. So I talk to a lot of my clients about this, and we're not perfect. No one is perfect, especially a perfect eater, and you don't have to be perfect. Not 100% of the time. My goal is 80% of the time you are doing what you need to do. You are taking the meaningful steps onto building that solid habit, and maybe 20% of the time you're not quite getting there, but we're still being consistent and you're still on your way to developing it. So be flexible and know that not every day is going to go perfectly, but it's all about consistency. Just like it's all about consistency with that exercise habit as well. The next one is start small and work up. So again, a couch to 5K is a great example. Starting with walking a little bit each day and increasing over time, you'll eventually get to that 5K. It might take you a little bit more time than you thought, but you're still going to get there. It's all about that consistency rather than how well you do each day beating your time or your distance. It's all about doing and building that habit a little bit at a time. So starting small and working up. Again, that could be doing a 10-minute walk 3 days a week and then building to a 20-minute walk or a 30-minute walk. But the consistent part of that is that you're walking 3 days or you're walking 2 or 3 days a week, and then you're building it up from there. And that small and working up really makes a difference in the end. Okay. A last one is a little tip that I learned from James Clear from Atomic Habits, and it is changing your environment surrounding the habit that you want to build. So an example, I think, from that book is putting a sticky note on a chip bag to remind you to put some of the chips in a bowl instead of eating out of a bag or a popcorn bag or whatever it may be. You don't have to write anything on the sticky note. It could just be a sticky note, but that is a change in your environment that you can clearly see on a chip bag that goes, all right, that's a little bit of a reminder to put some in a bowl or to separate some out. And it's a little bit of a change. And that kind of segues our way into talking about fall and talking about the seasonal change that we're going to experience. And that's another really great opportunity to make some changes, especially going into this new season. I know, parents have kids going into a new school year, or you might be starting a new job, or you might be starting a new schedule. It's still a change in environment. So it's a great way to establish a new habit because it's a change in scenery. Some more planning tips and tricks. Again, setting yourself up for success. So being realistic with your intentions for the week and looking ahead on what the week will tentatively look like. This is something that I'm sure you do with your dietitian or nutritionist when you talk to them on a weekly or maybe bi-weekly or monthly basis. You talk about what the plan is going forward, what the plan for the week is, what the plan for the month is. You kind of walk through what your week or your month or your day is going to look like. And setting yourself up for success could mean planning out your breakfast for the week or meal prepping that chicken for lunches during the week. It could be putting together some rice that you could easily throw in with lunches or dinners for the next couple days. But really setting yourself up for success means sitting down and thinking about what the rest of your week looks like, or maybe the rest of your month looks like, and maybe even talking about it to someone. Like picking your meals ahead of time. Again, starting with the ones that you know you may need a little bit more prep for. So those breakfasts and lunches for work, or for your kids or for school, and then writing them down, coming up with a handy meal plan guide. We have one on the website you can really utilize for yourself, writing down what the plan is for that week and how you're going to execute it, and maybe writing that along down with your grocery store shop. And that could be something that you do with your dietitian nutritionist again, or that could be something that you sit yourself down with at the beginning of the week and go, all right, what does the rest of my week look like? What is my plans? Remembering not every single meal for the week must be prepped in one day. Sometimes it just helps to focus on one thing to make for that week, like a batch of chicken for easy dinners, or some rice and pasta to pair with salads for lunch. Doesn't have to be everything all at once. I think a lot of the times when we think of meal prepping, we think of, all right, I need to prep all of my meals for the whole entire week in a Sunday. Sometimes that's not realistic. I know for a lot of people, that's not realistic. So thinking about a couple core things that you have a little bit more trouble with during the week and making some of them. Like breakfast. If you know that you won't eat breakfast if you don't prep it ahead of time, that might be the first thing that you think about to prep for the week. If you know that you have trouble with snacks, maybe putting aside and making a list of different snacks that you can have, that might be a different thing. But it's really about planning and implementing that planning. That's going to be important. So then that brings me to my next point, going with a plan. So whether that's going into the gym with a plan or going into the week with a plan for meals, at least you have a better idea on what to expect and how to better prepare yourself for that week or for that month, or maybe even the weekend too. Because going into it without any structure, any plan, I think that's when it starts to fall off a little bit and you have a little bit more trouble executing whatever you want to do or whatever that SMART goal is. Again, going back to making it specific and measurable and timely, going into that week, thinking a little bit more logistically about what it's going to look like and how you're going to get there. So still going into with a plan, but being flexible with it too, knowing that it doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to go 100% to plan, but at least going in with some semblance of a plan is going to be helpful. Okay. Fall recipes. So we talked a little bit about meal prepping and a little bit about what to meal prep and maybe some different ideas. I wanted to cover some fall recipes that we could talk about and why there's some perks with them. So the first one I have on here is the meal prep breakfast sandwiches. This is a new recipe that we have on the website. This is awesome for mornings when you just want to grab something and go, especially if you have kids that you have to take them to school or they need something for breakfast. This is a really great recipe for that. So the original recipe makes 4 servings. You can always increase or decrease the servings. It's actually the egg and the veggie is made in a baking dish. So you mix the eggs and the veggies together and you kind of bake that, and then you cut it into different sections and you put those squares into a sandwich of, you could do English muffins, which is it's shown here. And if you want to do a different bread, you can do different bread. If you want to do different breakfast meat, you can do different breakfast meat. This is shown with some cheese and turkey bacon. But this lasts about 4 to 5 days in the fridge, or if you freeze them, they last 3 months in the freezer, and they're really, really great for prep. And especially if you want to take the weekend and maybe make some of these for the week, if you're going to have a busy week. These are really great breakfast prep recipes. The next one I want to show is one of my favorites. It is the butternut coconut soup. So this is really great if you want to make a batch for the week, especially when the weather starts to turn a little bit more and we get more so of that fall crisp weather. This is really warm. It's got ginger in it. It makes about 4 servings. Again, like the other one, you can increase or decrease the servings. And it is a perfect way to warm you up and start soup season for the fall. It's really great. Like I said, it's got a unique blend of flavors. Some ginger is in it. And it's a great prep for the week if you want to have an easy dinner or an easy lunch to pair with maybe some chicken or some salads, kind of like a soup and salad kind of mix. The next one is another favorite. Of course, we get into the pumpkin season. Everyone's obsessed with pumpkin. So it's the pumpkin black bean turkey chili. It makes a great easy lunch or dinner for the week. So this one actually takes only about 20 minutes. It's pretty easy. It makes about 6 servings, and it is great for lunches or dinners for the week. So with any type of chili, this is packed with beans, it's packed with veggies, it's packed with protein, and the pumpkin adds a little bit of creaminess to the soup, along with a great source of vitamin A, where it gets its orange color from, beta carotene, vitamin E, iron, and folate. So those are some tips on how to get some extra vitamins out of our pumpkin with the pumpkin black bean turkey chili. This one's really great, again, for that crisper weather, especially if you want to prep some dinners or for some lunches for the week. And then another one of my favorites, the root vegetable sheet pan. This is a really great way to prep veggies and some starches for the week if you want to have some easy things to throw together for weeknight dinners and you just have to pair protein with it. So it's a perfect one-step prep for some veggies and starches for lunches. The sheet pan dinners, most of them are a really great way to meal prep and help set yourself up for success during the week with just doing one thing. So you prepping a giant pan of some veggies and some starchy veggies in there is a great way for you to just have some available to you in the fridge or in your freezer that you can throw together in a meal very quickly, especially if you have a very busy night ahead of you with whatever you may do after work. So this is one of my favorites. And if you want to, you could always swap out some of the veggies we have in here for a sweet potato or a regular potato. If you want to swap out the turnips for that, you can do that too. So that's always an option. And then some fall snacks. So the first one is the pumpkin energy bites. I am a huge fan of the energy bites, especially as a pre-workout snack or even just like an afternoon very quick snack. This is especially good for teachers. If you're a teacher, you probably know you don't have too much time during your day to grab a snack or to eat something in the middle of classes or kids or whatever may be going on. These are really quick to grab and go, especially when you hit that maybe morning or afternoon time that you don't have time to have a full snack, but you're still hungry. These are really great for that. And again, they're great for before a workout as a small snack to get you a little bit further throughout your workout. They're called energy bites for a reason. They have the chia seeds, they have the oats, they have a little bit of chocolate in them. They're delicious, but they also pack a good punch with giving you a good amount of fiber and long-lasting energy with a little bit of bite. So these are great. I would highly recommend these. The pumpkin smoothie is another one that is amazing. It is like fall in a cup. It's great for snacks, but also a great switch up for a morning breakfast if you want to have something in the morning. It includes maple syrup, pumpkin pie spice, a banana, and also some quick oats. So it gives you a little bit of that complex carbohydrate that's going to fill you up a little bit more, especially if you have it for breakfast in the morning. That's a great way to add a little bit more oomph to your breakfast, especially if it's a smoothie, is to add a little bit of oats to it. So that's what this has in it. And then just to conclude a little bit on what we talked about at the beginning of the webinar. So utilizing this new season to set yourself up with new goals. So really use this change of weather and environment to create new goals to accomplish before the end of the year. I know we say like new year, new goals. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You don't have to wait until December to create new goals for yourself. Utilize this new season to create a new habit or a new pattern, especially because we're going into a little bit of a different weather pattern, or maybe a school year that's changing up your structure of your day. It's a great opportunity to create a new habit that you can go into the new year with, already having it established. And it's a great way to finish the year strong with with the last couple months before a new year begins. So utilize this fall time to do that. Utilize the new environment to kind of change things around for you. And then just to conclude, remember, little changes make a big difference over time, especially when you implement those changes into new habits. So starting off with smaller, realistic goals and repeating them until they're a new behavior, and then building upon them. And that's something that we work on during our sessions together, especially, I'm sure you guys notice with your dietitians, we come up with small goals that you can implement during the week that really build to that bigger goal that you have in the end. And these are some recommendations that I have listed under here. Again, James Clear, Atomic Habits is really great. It's an awesome read, and it really focuses on how those tiny changes can make a big difference. Badass Habits is another really great one by Jen Sincero. And then The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. These are all under the recommendations page in the portal if you want to check them out through there. They're really great, especially if you want to implement those new habits and you want to start learning why they make a big difference with doing those small changes in the long run. Okay. That's the end of my webinar. If anyone has any questions, feel free to spam the chat box, and I can do my best to answer everyone's questions. And I'll be here for a couple minutes afterwards if anyone does have any. As always, you're going to get an email with this attached to it, and this will be saved underneath our webinars tab in the portal too. So it's always going to be saved in there. But if you have any questions, send them through. I know this was a pretty new topic that we've done, but that is all that I have for you today. And I'll be here for a couple minutes if anyone does have any questions. I'll keep an eye on the chat box. Okay. Doesn't look like anyone has any more questions. As always, thank you all for tuning in. This is going to be saved underneath our webinars tab. You'll also get an email with this if you want the PowerPoint as well, if you want to go through that. So that'll be saved under there. And tune in for our next webinar, which should be coming up in a couple weeks. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. Bye.